Thank you, Anita, and thank you, Suresh, for giving me this opportunity again because we are back within a week. Last time, through the India Greens, we were talking about water, women, and wisdom, why they have to come together to solve the water problems. As part of that, now this is kind of first, I should say tribute, but this is kind of preparing again for something which is already there and also which is going to come again. But before I start my talk, let us pay a small tribute from our side, those who are dying out of COVID. But at the same time, in India, we are also seeing there are a lot of poor people who are also dying because of the poor governance. And we need to also pay some tributes to all those who are caring and sharing. And I hope that we get over all this very soon. Having said that, this course which I am going to share with you today, yeah, is a part of my NPTEL massive online open course, which I am actually doing at IIT Madras. When I say doing, it is in progress work. So I'm recording the course with them. It is nearly 70% recorded. And once it is recorded, it gets approval and then it gets aired for people to take the course. It's a designed semester course for 2 credits, and the credits are designed based on the IIT format, but nevertheless, it can fulfill all the university requirements of a 2 credit course. It is planned for 14 hours of interaction, which will include both theoretical ground experience, lecture sessions, ground reporting from people who will join the course, learning from experts and sharing from people and peers, and present and publish. So even today when I share with you the highlights of the course, so I'm taking this as an opportunity not only to engage all of you, but also to prepare all of us for the water distresses and what little we can do by just understanding the water body. So what I will suggest you that you can imagine a water body near your city and then start relating what I'm going to share with you. Okay, so that becomes easier and you can actually see that there is some sense out of this course. So anyway, so this is a little contribution from my side to keep you busy when we are locked down. But at the same time sharing a little bit what I have learned over the last 2 decades of working on urban lakes. So first thing first, disclaimer about this talk as part of the course. I see it like this, you know. So one thing is managing the resource itself, in this case, the lake. But there is completely another thing, which is managing the knowledge of the resource. And here you can make a difference very well with the decision-making process. So when we take certain decisions, it is based on certain logics and certain scientific backups. Especially I'm talking about policy decisions, let's say in this case, or even lake management or any hunger management or air traffic management. It can be anything, but it is backed by the knowledge of that particular subject. So these are completely 2 different things and domains of working where different people and different experts work, but they also converge. So one is for example, like people who are working on the ground, they use the literature and the theory. Those people who are working, developing the theory and the literature, they are looking at things on the ground and trying to develop the theory and literature. However, and I see this more in India, that the proponents of action basically who are doing things on the ground, they kind of claim to have an upper edge because they are really doing things, and they undervalue that the managing of knowledge is important. So actually I'm sharing with you my learning from the 20 years, and then I will take you backwards. So I'm telling you what I am today feeling, and then I'll share what I have learned. So these are my findings from 20 years, to be honest. So this is where we have a divide, and you can relate it with other things also. I will share about lakes. So these action proponents, particularly consultants and politicians, there is kind of a distance from the knowledge management or the knowledge available. So to give an idea that I know everything kind of situation goes with the managers. Then there is other set of people who are developing, trying to develop the knowledge, looking at the society's performance, which are scientists, researchers, teachers, So they learn from what's going on in the society and they try to develop certain knowledge. They are also equally distanced from the ground. So this is where we have the disconnect. So that's why I say that science needs to connect with the society, and where transdisciplinary scholars become very important, who can actually talk to both sides of the people. In this situation, what has happened over the resource management, and again you can relate with forest management, infrastructure management, city development, that there is a lot of politicization of science and scientization of politics. To give an example, that if I want to, as a leader, if I want to develop something, I can might as well float a project about it and get the project scientifically claimed that this project is required. Okay, so these kind of things do happen, and people who produce knowledge or people who are into action, they kind of facilitate without doing the remaining half of, or without connecting with the remaining half. So it's both ways. This connect needs to be connected. And something which it is very close to my heart is that we need more conscience actually when we do science or even when we do actions. And that is something absolutely missing in taking care of environment. So everything cannot be about economy, there has to be ecology. So coming to the lakes, knowledge is in abundance. So there is no dearth of knowledge. It's about it's bringing them together. And that's where this connection is required. So you can find abundance of knowledge in urban lakes. Unlimited, let me tell you that. So integrated knowledge is what is required, and that is where policymakers, think tanks, consultants who are theoretical inclination can really play an important role. Because unless and until the knowledge is there, for example, if I know the lake is like this today, and if that is not recorded, officially not recorded, how do I see after 10 years that this lake is doing good or bad? Apart from just visually seeing as a citizen, you know, कि ये lake खराब हो गया, ये lake छोटा हो गया, या lake ये गंदा हो गया, या lake गायब भी हो गया. These are all verbal anecdotes. We need kind of a knowledge documentation which can be used for further action, monitoring, and evaluation. So this documentation is something very much lacking. And it's not me as a researcher or a scientist saying from my 20 years of work. If you really pull out the Ministry of Water Resources and Environment's 2020, 19 quote for water resources, that we really need to develop the database to work further to improve the water system of the country. So, and again, I will back this up, but I will also add to it, but that the knowledge is not insufficient. There is super flowing knowledge. It has to be brought together into one data system. And consultants, researchers, teachers, everyone plays very important role. And this is where conscience come into picture, why it is required. So the very fact that all of us really feel that we are in this prisoner's dilemma situation, and what can I do alone? We have to get rid of it. She is one of my mentors, but she taught me very well to understand what people are doing, and I'm actually continuously working on lakes to try to understand more the people than the lakes. So this is something where I realize that conscience is required no matter how much one knows about a subject, unless and until one is helping to make right decisions in terms of rightness of environment, along with economics, let's say, then otherwise we are still far from it. So I'm going to bring you some experiences of working on several lakes. When I say working, I did not engage into action of working. Let me be very clear on that. I have been learning about the lakes, and I will share my knowledge based on that. So this is where the life cycle of urban lakes actually sit as of today. From the flourishing state to degradation, and now we are talking about revitalization of lake only after we have started facing water problem. And I'm focusing on urban lakes, so please take that note. And at this point, I want to remind you that please imagine a lake in your mind when we talk about this, okay? And you can interfere in between if you have questions, okay? So that it is not a monologue. We have also moved far from ritualistic utilitarian use to technologically and leisurely use of water bodies. So many lake fronts, river fronts, and river converting into lakes, lakes converting into swimming pools, kind of a tank, are getting basically done. From organically developed village around the lake, which is the story of every village, by the way, in the country. Nearly every village in this country has a lake. They call it pond or talab, and there are many names for it. To modern land use planning and growth, where lake was actually not even considered when cities were planned. And we will learn about it more when I go through the slides of today's lecture. We have also gone far from talking about many lakes for few people. 100 years ago, we had several lakes. I did not get a data of number of water bodies then. But yes, Britishers did record all the water bodies in the country. But now we definitely know that we have very few lakes for many people in the country. According to the national statistics now, we have lost more than half of the lakes in last 100 years. And the remaining half are half in size. And those remaining half in size, I think you all know what is the status of those lakes. They are merely tanks for keeping the water, no different than water in the bowl or glass, which is dirty most of the places. Very few lakes now in the country are still used for drinking water. This has also has happened because of the change in the governance parameters. In the past, people used to take care of their own water body because they were using the water body for farming, as well as they were drinking that water and doing all the domestic purposes, fulfilling their domestic purposes. The same community is no more actually there around the water body. So we have a very heterogeneous urban community which is looking at the lake as a water body, but actually not directly dependent or interacting with the water body, kind of a distanced with the water body for several reasons, not only direct dependence, a lack of direct dependence, but at the same time, it is a kind of a different object altogether. It's now a water body for recreation. There were several informally crafted rules in the past, which have, where community used to decide how much water to be taken and how much water can be used for what purposes, who needs more or less, depending on the land holdings. Now we have more than 100 actually policies on paper, which are directly or indirectly related to lakes. So these are kind of a life cycle where urban lakes have gone through, you know. So from the community-led management, now we have the state as an urbanite. I think that I have paid my taxes, so state is supposed to take care of the lake. So this is a major shift in the taking care of the water bodies. And importantly, in the process, we have actually changed the very nature of the lake from rainwater harvesting system to drain water collection system, plus rainwater as well. But this is a major shift. And that's where we can no more call urban lakes as natural ecosystems. We call them constructed wetlands. And they have more functions than the past, even if they are not doing the agricultural functions. So if we have to look amidst this, the life of a lake, actually every city in this country is blessed with several kind of hydrological systems. I'm sharing with you the hydrological systems available in Ahmedabad. So we have lakes, we have step wells, we have underground tanks, we have also overground tanks, we have a big canal, we have a river. This is a story of most of the cities. River may not be there in some cities, but all major cities have rivers. But the question here we need to ask, if a city has more than 100 lakes, Ahmedabad as of today has recorded 123 lakes in 2007, where when I studied in 1999, it had more than 600 lakes, but it is more of a matter of politics, we discuss it later. But still, let's say we have 123 lakes in the city and we have a big Sabarmati river, we still get water from 1500 kilometers away, which is from Narmada. And that's where the question needs to be asked about sustainability and smart city and all those things. And it's very puzzling that if I have my water and I'm still not using my water, I am getting water from somewhere else for my needs. So can this disbalance be really looked at? It is very similar to, like, I have my bank account and I use your current money and savings money for my living. It is as simple as that. And then we are talking about smart city and sustainable city. So we need to really think about how we can change this my water and use of my water. So the life of the lake and life cycle, I've tried to put it in this diagram, which is also the cover page of my first book. It's going to be now re-edited in Springer. So it's lake as a utilitarian object, lake as an object of aesthetic. When the Britishers came in, and also the Mughals came in, they brought this idea of the aesthetic component of the lake, along with more utilization of lake front. We did have ghats and all, but it was more again functional, not really aesthetical angle. But of course, it was made beautiful. Then we had the industrialization, where we started exploiting a lake as a land. Then we have now in a stage, many of them were in the stage of abuse, so misuse and abuse are part of it. So we have these lakes life cycle and life coexisting now in most lakes in the country. And that's where the story of complexity system studies starts. So when we look at lake, it is not as simple as we see in most of the policy documents कि इस lake का development कर दो, चारों तरफ road बना दो, और लेक वॉक होना चाहिए, और गार्लैंड रोड होना चाहिए. It's not that simple. So we need to first understand. So in today's lecture, I'm actually going to tell you how complex a subject can be, and probably we'll have a second round from the course itself, where we can look at best practices and failed practices, and I will try to share with you how one can learn and really not get into the trap of panacea. So governing the lake requires minimum few things to look at. So the physical nature of the water body, how society values it or what services we draw from it, which are the organizations required, what kind of mechanisms are in place, the socio-political background, very important. Then what are the other systems, the drainage system, the water supply system, and how are we really aiming the very existence of the lake, so sustainability of the lake. So every lake has some very interesting story. If you really want to decompose or disintegrate that story to tell anybody in a simple way, you can use this structure to really tell a story. And I'm assuming that if you have a lake in your mind, please try to put them in this order and tell us a story. And I will be very happy to hear a story of your lake, and also if required, if you need some help, I will be available to help you. So this complex structure, we try to put it in a theoretical framework. I'm not going to really make it difficult for you, but just to give you the gist that bulleted words are put in a diagram to really make a theoretical work, because me being a scientist also, we have this, we want to see the relationship. But this is something which I'm working on a book. And also we are trying to show how the complex system can be delayered and relayered. But I will take each of the components which are written here. By the way, these components are same as I was showing you in the bullet points. And I will tell you each one of them how they actually look in the real life case. So as you can see on the left, you have the lake system and the value of the lake. On the right, you have the governing organizations, the governing mechanisms which are run by the actors. And then you have on the top urban settings, and on the bottom you have the related developments, which are drainage system, water supply system, and all. And if you want to do a comparative analysis of different lakes or study different lakes, you will use the place on the right side of the diagram. If you want to see a story of a lake over time, so timeline analysis of a water body, you see on the left side how we try to show it over time. So this is just a diagram not to get worried about, but just to tell you that it is called Social Ecological System Framework, developed by the same Nobel laureate. And I'm trying to really make stories about every lakes based on this. This is we call it simple because it gives me some indicators how I can study a subject. Yeah. So coming to now the physical lake. So what is a lake in India? So in India, we call urban lake as all kinds of water bodies except the river, which are located in urban areas. So it's a very generic definition. We are yet to have a specific definition, and honestly, in my opinion, we do not require a specific definition. Every lake is unique by itself, and that is what we need to understand. But it is important to know that all of these reservoirs, ponds, tanks, wetlands, and lakes itself have a different ecosystem. They are not same. Okay, so that's important. So we need to first identify that what is this water body like, and then we can dig into its ecosystem. So I will focus only on the lake. Specific lake, which is neither a tank, but it is somewhere between all of them actually. So it has nature of a wetland, so it has a natural ecosystem. There is some constructed part in it as tanks. There is a pond culture, so it is a little bit deeper, and it is also a reservoir of rainwater as well as wastewater. Although outside what I read from literature, there has been kind of an attempt to define what is a specific lake, and then beyond this, either it is wetland or it is pond. We are yet to develop that kind of definition in the policy framework, but as I said, we actually do not require, and I will tell you why. Every lake is a unique DNA, just like you and me. Born somewhere with somebody, some parents, with some groomed up with some kind of culture, so similarly every lake is either man-made or natural. It is inland. The health can be defined by the tropic state of the lake. The health can be also looked at from the depth of the lake, which is a littoral zone, limnatic zone. So every lake, we need to first know what is its DNA. The DNA, the physical DNA, just like I am 5 feet 3 inches, or I am this much old, I have these allergies and all of those. So this is first thing first. We need to know how the lake was born. Okay, so we have to pick one component from each of the circle, and then the lake's first definition is there. So that is why every lake requires a unique definition. Coming to now the main story of the today, governance. So simply governance is basically who can do what, to whom, on whose authority. So who are the organizing team, who are the recipients, who are making decisions, who are acting on it, and so on and so forth. One of the biggest challenges which has not been understood still by, unfortunately, planners and architects and designers, and I will not even say politicians, because I don't expect them to understand everything. They have many things to do. But at least when government hires experts, they need to know, biggest challenge in doing lake management has been that lake is really not isolated water body, which is where we have to really change our way of looking at water bodies. So a lake is actually one lake even is a full system by itself. So doing hundreds of things on the lake, like cleaning the water every year, putting some aeration, putting some chemicals, is not going to solve the problems of the lake. We need to understand the catchment of the lake. We need to understand the shore of the lake, which is the most vulnerable part, which is where also as architects and planners, we are doing lots of intervention, making lakefronts, making chowpatty, making ghat, making whatnot. So one lake is in totality a lake system. However, in all kind of cities, lake development, we are addressing only the lake. So it's like, I have a problem in one thing. So I have problem with the lake, but I have problem in the lake system where the city is. So we all live in the catchment areas of some lake. And I'm trying to treat the lake, and it is not getting treated because the catchment area is not treated, because the shore is treated only in isolation. When the shore is treated, which is a lakefront, we are not considering the water body. And I have experienced it with all my students in architecture and planning. Many of the students, they do lakefront, even architects in offices, they are doing lakefronts and this front, river front, whatnot, waterfront. And their water is not even considered in their work. So doing shores has a risk of not taking water into consideration. And the catchment planning has always happened with the land use planning in the country. Water has not been considered in the city planning, and is, even as I speak to you today, water is still not considered in city planning, because we consider that water is going to be a different system imposed on the city planning as a water supply system. We are not considering city development integrated with the water body, but there are other issues why we are not considering. So I will talk about it in the later stage. So just to give you a real-time example of how a lake and the lake system differs. So you see a small red in Mansagar Lake, which is in Jaipur. The lake itself is only 1 square kilometer. But the water which this lake is going to collect is nearly 23 square kilometers. And if that is not taken care, the lake's health is always going to be affected, which is the case in most of the lakes. So the urban area development happened in the catchment area, and it has affected the health of the lake. Having said that, no development is not the answer. Importantly, as of today, when you see a lake near your house, you also see a small nala going through the lake. You need to take care that the nala is clean and the water can flow in. So, जैसे तोता होता है ना, एक पहले जमाने में स्टोरी होती थी कि इस राजा की जान तोते में बसी है, हर तालाब की जान उसके नाले में बसी है. ये हमको याद रखना है. So to give you more examples. So we saw one lake. Now I'm showing you on the screen, which is the blue diagram is of Udaipur. So how these lakes are interconnected with the nalas. This is from one of my students' work. On the left, you have many lakes. All the black dots are lakes except the one in the bottom. This is Ahmedabad city's 150-year-old diagram. All these lakes are interconnected through nalas. And these nalas were the roads. If planners and architects, when they were designing cities, if they had taken care of the water bodies, and even today when they are designing all these smart cities, if they take care of these nalas and really convert them into roads and design them with the drainage system, we will have better water body system than what we are designing today. To just give you a clue. Now coming to what needs to be done over scales. So when we talked about lake as a lake system, then we have the watershed, then we have the basin itself, then the lake edge, and the living system in the lake, biodiversity, completely out of mention even in on lake development projects. We need to really take care of that, because still human beings are designing, developing lakes for themselves. It is not for others. And that's where we have to now at least evolve after the COVID, that we have to really think about the planet as a whole instead of only human species being living there. So there are other things which also work across scales. So use from domestic use or from industrial use to other use and misuse and abuse. Then we have all kinds of users. Then we have managers and also executors and evaluators. So these are the things all happening simultaneously and required to set the agenda. So this is just an elaborate version of the previous slide, just to show you that when we talk about the lake ecology, we have to talk about the biological, the ecological, the technical engineering part of it. Within institutions, there are policies, planning, laws, sanctions, incentives, all kinds of things. And even in uses, we can talk about desires, then the demand, the supply, what is the capacity of the lake itself needs to be talked about. I want you to pull out any lake development plan and look for these things, okay? So then what has happened in 2004, there was a realization that we need to save the lakes for water bodies. So we had the first National Lake Conservation Plan in the country. Before that, there were more than 70 lake related policies and plannings, directly and indirectly, including the water policy, including the Forest Act and so on. But irony is, when this policy came into picture, every city was told to designate their lakes. So identify their lakes, that you have lakes in the city. So in 1999, when I did my master's thesis in Ahmedabad, the city authority recorded 630 lakes. When this policy came into picture, and I was doing my PhD, that was around 12 years later, the number of lakes became 123. So I'm questioning, actually, that did the policy do good, or did the policy really question the identity of the lake itself? And that's where back to the what is the definition of the lake, you know? So now Ahmedabad has officially 123 lakes over 12 years. So what happened to those 500 lakes? Can anybody tell me? Anybody would like to unmute and tell me? Those became land. Huh? So that's where the beauty lies, and when the policy comes. So land without lake without water is a piece of land in the city. And I don't need to tell any one of you that how important land is considered in the city. Unfortunately, we are still not considering water as important in the city. And that's where the problem lies. So some years ago in Ahmedabad itself, they are trying to now reconnect these lakes. And on the left side of the picture, you see that they have tried to do a pilot project of connecting 11 lakes. So there is an attempt to redo some of the things, but this is was a pilot project. Last year, I sent my student to figure out what's happening with the pilot project, and she summarized to me that that linking system is not really efficiently functioning. But I do not have solid, really evident for it, but it is just perceptional. Then after the designation, the nation state asked every city to really delineate the lake. So how big is your lake? Now you have identified n number of lakes in the city. Now tell us what is the area of this is compulsory now in the country. Huh? So you can ask for it. So earlier, these area of the lake used to be the revenue map available with the collectorate. Now every local authority is supposed to have these maps. And they are trying to develop these maps and have it as a record. So I did collect all the maps from Ahmedabad for Ahmedabad lakes. But what happened in the delineation also, which is very interesting, where development and designers and architects and planners come into picture, we see that a chronology over many years, every time there was a lake development project designed or planned for the lake, the area of the water body reduced. So I'm showing you a map on the left bottom. It is left for me. I don't know how you are seeing my screen, because I'm also learning to work in Zoom. It's a map which is showing how the lake in Jaipur has reduced from 700 acre to now 300 acres with every lake development and city development. And these are all catchment areas. So this is how in delineation also there are kind of a land politics which happens. Now, when we have to manage a lake, because now every lake is a wastewater recipient in the country, we have to also manage how much water is coming here and there. This is the basically statistical detail of the same lake which I was showing in the previous slide. So again, Jaipur Lake. Just to give you an idea that managing the water in the lake itself is a big task. Big task in the sense that the capacity of the lake has to be known. And then how much water quantity it can take pre-monsoon, monsoon, and post-monsoon. So there is a full tank level of the lake which needs to be understood. So even if we are using it as a wastewater sink, we cannot really let all the water get into that lake. There are a lot of calculations. I hope by the end of this session, you actually start appreciating the local authorities and people who are studying these lakes, because I see kind of a lot of disrespect in this country for people who do research. And this is also my personal mission, that I want to promote research in this country. So apart from managing the quantity of the water body, we need to also look at the quality of the water body. So having a big water body and in a bad shape means, in a bad quality means also health hazards in the surrounding. So there are parameters set up by the Central Pollution Control Board. So big lakes are actually tested every month and a report is prepared by State Pollution Control Board. So you can ask for these things. Then small lakes are looked after every 3 months. And there are more than 250 parameters which are actually recorded. So there are also labs which the Pollution Control Board delegates the work to. So just to tell you the health of the lake. So just like we go for now executive test for ourselves, you know, like many things, sugar check kara liya, blood ye check kara liya, uric acid check kara liya, फिर पता नहीं क्या क्या check कराया. Similarly, lake also goes through this health checkup from time to time, and the health of the lake will also decide the quantity of the water body, which is also very interesting to learn that quantity and quality are like, you know, Ram and Shyam, Jai Viru type situation, and they really go hand in hand. How much water and what is the quality of water will be always really tricky. So it's not that we have a lot of quality, a lot of water and it will cleanse the water. No, because there is also a myth of that when rain falls that the water body gets cleaned. No, the first few rains bring a lot of pollution from the city to the water body. So we have to understand that as well. So if you bring them together, that is where the complexity starts, as I was telling you in advance, and the slide is coming now. So this was again, I was trying to understand how the quality and quantity is managed for one lake in Jaipur. Yeah. So we have to really appreciate that. So Jaipur Lake receives half of Jaipur's wastewater, but it is not, as I said, that all the wastewater is not put into the lake because the lake has a capacity. And also in terms of, not only in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality, because the lake has to basically nurture the aquatic life. So if the quality is too bad, no fish, no aquatic plants will grow, which has happened just few years ago. All the fish were floating in Mansagar. Everything was dead. And we hear this story many times. So every lake, this quantity quality game also has another kind of politics, because it is the local authority which is going to decide how much water in the water body. So just 2 days ago, I had a student asking me about Anna Sagar Lake. I hope she has joined the meeting today. She's from Jaipur. Every lake has an upstream catchment and the lake outflows, and which becomes the downstream for that lake, but it is upstream for the next lake. So how much water is going to be held in this lake and the next lake is also, there is a lot of politics behind it, because water becomes very tricky in monsoon, in post-monsoon and pre-monsoon. Just to give you example, in Jaipur case again, I tried to keep one example to make it easier for you to understand. In the monsoon, nobody wants the water body and nobody wants the water, because upstream gets flooded, lake is full, downstream does not want any water because they get flooded. In the summer, everybody wants the water because lake water is down. Upstream, they want better weather. Downstream, they want water because they are farming and they are feeding Jaipur. So this kind of dynamics happens many places. So there, with this, actually the dilemma of those who are designing and making decisions on lake development and lake conservation comes into picture. But we see a trend of developing lake just for the sake of developing. These are two examples, one from my neighborhood on the top, and for the sake of development, they have just built wall to protect the lake. So one way is to keep people away, to conserve the lake. That's the one notion of it. Second is in Baroda. I was invited last year from MS University to take students on a lake walk, which is one of my very favorite work to do. So if you have a lake around your neighborhood and if you want to walk with certain few people, you can always invite me. I'm very happy to do lake walks. So this is the lake walk in Sursagar, and you see the development mode of it. And as I was telling few minutes ago, that people, when they do lake development, land is carved out of the lake. That's very interesting to look at because lake development करना है. जैसे ही lake conservation करना आता है, दीवार लगा देना है. So we have to really go past these these are called panacea. So we look at certain examples and we try to follow. At this moment, Kankaria Lake development of Ahmedabad is really considered as the model lake development of the country. What is not understood from Kankaria Lake development is actually when the king Ahmad Shah, who made Kankaria Lake, he made a circular lake which is a built tank rainwater harvesting system. But at the same time, almost equal area of the lake he left as a green space for the lake water to remain pure, for the water to come from all the surrounding areas, get purified through this biodiversity zone and get into the water body. Now, in the new lake development, we are copying Kankaria model and we are just copying the constructed part of it. We are really not seeing the lake in totality. And that's where we need to really look at it. So when the lake in the past, which was for the biodiversity as well as for drinking of the people, so this is Ahmedabad, by the way, is now today the same lake is only a garden for leisure. And then it is promoted as the model lake of the country. So we have to really go past this human tendency that everything is for our consumption and leisure. And I think that's where the Green Party and people like me who are very keen to tell people that there is more to environment than everything for human beings. So now you see some two stories here about concretization and conservation approach. So development and conservation approach here. One on the top is what people don't like and they want to develop, slum area, right? Just below that, the same lake is developed and then people start appreciating. If I really tell you the ecosystem value of both, they do not differ at all. In fact, if I really do honest ecosystem evaluation, the top scene is better for the lake. Which if I tell, actually I will not get job in this country. Because I'm talking from the lake point of view, I am not talking from the people point of view. That's the difference. Now you see on the left side of the picture where you see the construction again from Baroda. So this is where the very notion of development has to be relooked. So I am not saying that please stay with the top picture, and I will definitely not promote the bottom picture on the right side. But what I'm trying to tell you that can we find a balance between doing something where we have not so much of concretization, but a balance of having some place for people, but also having little mini forests in the city where there is water body because trees can grow well. This is the same lake, same time, 2 years during my lake walks, 2017 and 2018 and 2019. What happened over designing? Now all the lakes in the country are getting deepened for rainwater harvesting. This is also in Ahmedabad. So on the right side, 2018, I took around 30 students there. On the left side, you see 2019, I had a very small bunch of people. We went to do the lake walk. What went through? The policy went through in between because there was a big drive to do rainwater harvesting in the lake. And the lakes were deepened. Absolutely deepening lake to 30 feet, 50 feet, 70 feet is not going to work. It is going to change the lake ecosystem. It is not going to remain lake. That's the important part. Because the aquatic life in the water body is going to thrive only up to certain depth of the water body, where sunshine goes in, where plants can thrive, where insects can thrive, where fish can thrive. But unfortunately, human beings, again, we are thinking for our water resource because we are going in the crisis of water. So there is a blanket rule कि water recharge करना है, ground water recharge करना है, तो पूरा खड्डा कर दिया इस lake का. Let me tell you, if we do groundwater recharge like this, it is not going to help and solve the problem of groundwater recharge. This is a fast recharge because if you deepen the lake by 30-40 feet, you change the soil system of the lake, you really remove the layer which is going to hold the water body as a water body. So now this year, actually after the monsoon, the water disappeared from the lake. because everything got percolated. But if you say that I have succeeded in the policy because water percolation was the main agenda, I will again question the human purpose of doing lakes. So again, we were really so focused on anthropocentric approach to lake that we did get the water, we did percolate it. Two things happened in this process. First, water did get percolated to groundwater, but fast percolation also means fast extraction of groundwater. So we did not actually store the water. If the lake water is there in the lake, it is storing the water for longer time. So extraction is less, one thing. Second thing, the water which gets percolated bit by bit, like seepage, it's naturally purifying. In this process, so I am also questioning the very way we try to really inject industrial wastewater, and at the same in the same way we try to inject ground water recharge. They need to be looked at and rethought. So we need dredging, and dredging is a scientific process. So this natural coat of the lake bed needs to be there. It cannot be taken away. But there is third thing which I'm refraining from talking about on this page. In the last 2 years, when the lake rainwater harvesting karna hai lake mein has started nationwide, the sand mining from lakes have increased exponentially, because river mein sand mining is now very much checked, and lake sand mining becomes easy because local transport becomes very easy. So these are like impacts of policy decisions which are not backed by science. So this is where I live, and I will show you a timeline of 20 years. You see at the center of it was the lake when I was doing my master's thesis, the red dot, the big red squarish place was the lake. When 1999, I was doing a master's thesis here in Ahmedabad. This was also a water body which got converted into government housing. This got converted into the lake, slum. This is getting closed, and this is already getting filled up by waste, solid waste. So this is how we try to really unintended way we try to reclaim the water bodies. Now the last ellipse is actually now there will be a metro station coming up. So all the development on the water body itself, you know. So because still city development is not integrating water use, we are doing land use development of the city, because we everybody in fact knows very much the price of the land and everything. Huh? Nobody talks about the price of the water in that land, and that's where we have to change our outlook. So this is how actually we have moved from many lakes for some people to some lakes for many people. So that brings us to the talking about the value, how much tangible value we give to the lake. Very many values are there. We can look at through the ecosystem services, which is from the United Nations, and Ramsar, which is a association, International Association for Water Wetlands. So we can really look at all these functions which lake perform in urban lakes actually, and much more in rural lakes. But even if we have to see what kind of lake, my lake in the neighborhood is really giving functions, you can really look at all of them. Apart from the tangible value, which we all actually do not see directly, but they do cater to these functions. Unfortunately, as urbanites, we see lake only as a lake front and garden area. Lake पे जाएंगे, वहाँ पे walk करेंगे, सुंदर सुंदर चिड़िया दिखेगी. There is much more than that. Okay, so then the intangible values, there are this large diversity of people in the cities. You know, some people use it for leisure and some people use it for livelihood. So we have this spectrum of use. Then some people are passionate about these water bodies and really care for it, and some people are also pessimistic. This is the pessimistic picture is from Bhopal, and you can all relate with it. When there is written no parking, people rub the no. So this is कृपया तालाब में कचरा ना डाले, नगर निगम भोपाल, ना को किसी ने मिटा दिया है. So we have this range of users, you know. Like the range of users, we also have the spectrum of caretakers. Because now in the last 100 years, the big change which has come in the lake management is, as citizens, I have taken a back seat कि मैंने तो टैक्स दे दिया है, अब सरकार मुझे लेक देगी. Within that, you see many actors which are playing. The fish in the lake is under the fishery department. Water in the lake is with the water resource department. Land of the lake is actually with the collectorate. If there is a tourism which has to come, then it is with some other department. Then on top of it, we are there as users. We demand what we want from the water body. And unfortunately, we demand all the time as a society for us only. And that is also we need to change. Lake for the lake or lake for human beings, that's a difference. So all these actors are actually making collective choices, and all these actors who are sitting in the fishery department, local authority, commissioner, collector office, forest department, they are all our known people, huh? Our family, city as a family. They are using many of these tools, communication, commitment, compliance, coordination. They are resolving the this is how city is run, by the way, it's managed. Huh? I'm just giving example from the lake, but all these are happening simultaneously. So without communication, nothing goes further. Huh? But commitment has to be there, what has been decided, there, it has to be compliance भी होना पड़ेगा. Conflicts आते हैं अगर systems में, तो उसको भी resolve करना पड़ेगा. From there onwards, we have a weaker point: monitoring, sanctioning, information sharing, because we take impromptu decisions कि अभी ये हुआ, अभी ये कर दो. Linear thinking. In theory, we call it linear thinking. कि अभी का problem solve कर दो. We need a complex thinking approach, and for that we need a data management system, and knowledge has to be put in place. कि baseline कि 2020 में ये लेक की हालत ये है, तो 2025 में क्या है, 2030 में क्या है, that we miss. And this is where role of people like us who are consultants, teachers and researchers who are working on it is huge, and we have underplayed and we have been undervalued also, I will say. So in the absence of data, what has happened is every time a lake development is planned, it is a zero-sum game. So we start from scratch. Every consultant makes a full document of a lake project, and then it is not in the public domain. It is not even shared with the government. So next time the same lake is getting developed or getting taken care, the next consultant starts from zero. So we keep on reinventing the wheel instead of adding to the body of the knowledge, because we have to still value that the knowledge management is important to manage the resource. Then governance and government, as I was saying, we have moved from community-led water bodies management to now government as a MyBAP. And that also has changed, because as in a democracy, we elect governments as our servants to serve the needs of the masters. That has changed. I think you all can relate with it, not only for lakes, but a lot of other things. So the politics has crept into a lot in these water bodies, because water is still not considered as part of city development. Everything is about land. So is land की कीमत कितनी है? So what was interesting for me to really see 10-12 years ago, lake की जो valuation होती थी ना कि ये lake इतने का है, it was just the valuation of the land area. Interestingly, no valuation is there for the birds, for insects. Forget about water, but not even these things. So it was very much land, because land is considered very expensive resource. Apart from this, something else also has gone through there, which we also need to change. As I was saying that everybody is unique, same as all lakes are unique. We are looking for a panacea model. So ये lake successful हो गया है कांकरिया, तो इसी lake का model को दूसरे में चिपका देना है, ऐसा नहीं होगा. We have to really understand, and we actually do that for everything. Education में भी यही है, जो बच्चे को drawing पसंद है उसको मार के हम गाना सिखा रहे हैं. या उसको इंजीनियरिंग सिखा रहे हैं, तो वो हम लेक्स के साथ भी करते हैं. So Panacea has an alternate. We need to learn from good practices, but what we are not doing and we need to embrace in our practices, we need to also learn from failures. So how do we learn from failures? Unless and until we document it. So what has happened over the last many decades that we have documented good practices. We need to also document the failed practices so that learning can come कि ये करने से ऐसा होता है. You see, learning from oral history is not far. Learning has to be also from the written history. So Panacea has to be really taken over by the alternatives of learning from both success as well as failure. So as I said, there are many organizations taking care of the lakes. There are many laws also taking care of the lakes. So we call it polycentric, but then every organization is holding one or two or several laws related to their institutional prerogatives, that what they can do and what they cannot do. We need to understand that. I'm not saying as a citizen we all need to know all this. What I'm trying to tell all of you, that if we know this, that these are the complexities which goes into managing one water body, first thing first, we will be empathetic to the local authority. कि गवर्नमेंट कुछ नहीं करती, ऐसा नहीं है. गवर्नमेंट बहुत कुछ करती है, अनफॉर्चुनेटली डिसजॉइंटेड करती है. तो कहीं ना कहीं अगर हम भी समझें और गवर्नमेंट के लोग भी समझें, so we can find out a middle ground to really do better. So hopefully some little bit more empathy towards each other. Amidst all this, government वही करती है जो समाज चाहता है. Back to the same democratic story, कि government is our servant. So we, with our demand or intention, we actually reflect or tell the government that this is what we want. We may not be saying it directly, taking a speaker, but our actions, whether we are buying land, whether we are making building, whether we are planting trees or not doing, or whether we are littering, our actions are actually reflecting the government, our needs, and the government responds to our actions. It's not that the government does some, it's a cyclic process, but I will say the start is from the citizen side. So government is responding to our actions. It's not that the government has done something and we respond to their actions. It is both ways. So we need to understand that if we want a good governance, we also have to be good citizens and empathic towards the environment. So these are the things which we need to really ask accountability from the government. So whether how is the financing, you will be surprised to know that they are talking about a lot of lake development and deepening of the lake. I was looking through the policy 2013 के बाद lake development पे 1 रुपया नहीं डाला है. They are under other headings, you know. So we have to also look at all these things. Just to give you one example, but all these things make a difference. Agenda setting, very important, and that's where society plays a role, and community has to come back and claim that we care for our water bodies. Because the policy decision and the consultants, many consultants carry out perception analysis around the water bodies. As I study from other consultants' work and I talk to them, we need to reflect what we want. So मुझे वहां पे तालाब चाहिए ताकि मेरा बच्चा घूम सके और मैं घूम सकूं और वहां मच्छर नहीं आना चाहिए is not enough. We need to tell a little bit more than that, and also have more kind of an accommodating nature for having co-inhabitants, which are insects and animals, to live in the city for us. Half of our problems will be solved if all these water bodies are there and we have little bit more forests and we are more accommodative with other animals. So that we don't become machines in the cities. So one of the agenda which government has, linear agenda, which is solving drought and flood problem. Again, for human beings. We need to change that perception of the government. We need to really talk about coexistence in the planet. And again, talking a little bit more green, blue planet, not only brown planet, what we have today. Within that, everybody, all of us who work in the government and consultants and all, we are really looking at things from ownership, land use planning, and this whole land water nexus, which is really keep putting the lakes into this vulnerable situation. As I have been saying that a lake without water is a land, and that's where the problem lies. So can we start valuing the water, our own water? Coming back to Ahmedabad, more than 100 lakes, and we want to take the money, water and money from, water is money in my mind all the time. We take water from Narmada, and we want to keep our water just to see. That's something which has to change. And of course, policy level, I don't know when this will change, that we have to do land use and water use planning, which really needs to be changed. But that is the problem of the ownership, because every bit of land parcel in this country is divided into ownerships, including the water body, which is divided as a parcel of land. And that is valued based on the land. And then who decides? So if I am developing my land by the lake, I don't care about the lake because it is not my land. So I can dump things. I just care about my plot. And that lake does not understand, that river does not understand. So when flood happens, it just transcends all the boundaries. And that's where we call that the flood and drought are man-made, are governance problem, not a natural problem. So economy versus ecology is something which we have to talk about, but we are still into that economy zone. You know, everything development jo hona hai wo economy se hona hai. We are not realizing that if there is no ecology, economy is not going to work, because the whole economy's resource is drawn from the ecology. So we need to understand. So we have to go past this psychology that we need to revive lakes and rivers for flood and drought control. No, we have to change that perspective. We have to have their coexistence, not only to protect us from flood and drought, but we need to really embrace the presence of others in the planet. River is a life. Lake has a life. It's an ecosystem. It breathes, it talks. It really looks at things the way we behave, and it responds to us. I think I will skip the corruption and land water nexus, because water politics is really one of the least studied in this country. So we really don't have much data about how water politics goes, because the water politics happens under the veil of land politics. So every piece of land which is developed by the lake or reclaimed from the lake is much more valuable than the land around it. And that is where there is an incentive to really reclaim land out of the water body, because water front ban jata hai. So there is these decisions are taken in the closed doors of how lake development is going to take place. As citizens, we can change that by our needs. Can we really think or imagine ourselves that we live in a city where occupying 60% is residential area? Can we leave these lakes for themselves, for the birds, for the animals, and just make forests, and not really for us to go for a morning walk? If that day happens in my lifetime, I think I have lived the purpose of my life, to be honest. Can we really leave certain parts of the city just for the sake of nature, where we do not intervene, but intervene only for the goodness of the nature, but not for my morning walk, or not for my chowpatty, or not for other things? So I have already talked about it, that looking for panacea is important. We have to find alternatives, but both are looking at failure and success. Looking for sustainability has been the biggest pain, because in every lake development policy document, or we call it DPR, report, development report, there is a lot of talk about sustainability. We have to understand 99% of the lakes in this country are man-made. If the lake is born, it is bound to die. And death are in two ways in lakes. One is we do forced death, which is reclamation, bhar dete hain, which has happened for more than 4 decades, because we had no solid waste management system in place. So many of these depression areas, which were lakes, were got filled up, and they became piece of land and unintended. And then it was really looked at as a very important resource because it became land. But in the recent times, in last 2-3 decades, it became a modus operandi because we knew that if we filled it up, which is happening one near my neighborhood, they are regularly filling it up with solid waste. So they know that in 20 years it will become land. That's also death of the lake. That is forced death. There is also natural death, which is also indirectly imposed by human beings. You see water hyacinth, and it eats up all the water from the lake, and we declare it as death. We call it eutrophic. If those water hyacinths do not grow, as human beings, we will not be able to live by the water body. So again, we have to start appreciating water hyacinth. I'm not saying they should grow, but they are growing because the pollutants from the living areas or surrounding neighborhoods are getting into the water, and the hyacinth is growing to purify the water. And if it is purified, then we live. If the no high, so nature does its own regenerative process. We need to appreciate that. So we can reduce the pollution. So if the moment we try to remove all the water hyacinth, there has been a lot of drive over the country that we want to remove water hyacinth all the time. We need to look at the point source of the pollution. Water hyacinth removal is like a cure. It is not a prevention. Okay. So if it will get filled if we do not dredge a lake over the years, it will be a natural death. But both these deaths which we see now from pollution and from reclamation are man-made death of the lake. A lake naturally will die after thousands of years. Because if we do not deepen the lake or dredge the lake, it will get naturally filled up with the aquatic life which gets dried and it gets deposited on the water body. Something which has also changed drastically for the death of the lake in the country. So lakes are actually not going to die in this country anymore because now the water bodies are wastewater bodies. We have to make them live for our purpose because we do not have alternate solutions for wastewater disposal. So somewhere or the other, we have to be then little bit more careful about treatment of the wastewater which gets into the lake. So this is something, kind of an arrangement which we have to do not only for ourselves, but also we have to take care of the water body. A major change which I try to do whenever I'm talking to people like you, and I'm so happy to see that there are 80 people right now connected to each other. That the major change we need to bring in to our perception is that lake is not only for us, it is for everybody. And it is bound to die. As humans, we are given with little bit of intelligence and we do planning and design. We have to prolong that death by doing sensitive intervention to the water body, not deepening too much, allowing the aquatic life to thrive, not letting waste water get into the lake. Every lake can have a treatment plant. The way we build highways, we might as well divert some money into making treatment plants and drainages in this country. I wish I could really declare that for the entire country, to be honest. We have to really decide where we put the money now on environment. We have to do that. It's high time now. But amidst this making the lake live, these kind of questions come into picture in the policy table, and also people like me who are working on the research part and theory part of it. So what to sustain in the water body? Anthropocentric approach or ecological approach? How much to sustain in the water body? Development versus conservation. क्योंकि कितना पानी रहेगा? Until when to sustain? Future generation के लिए कितने साल के? It can be calculated. All these are possible because now lake is a constructed ecosystem, which means there is an engineering component of it where we, with our intelligence, can plan and prolong its death. So that has to be discussed. What value to sustain? So as I was saying just a few minutes ago, can we really leave the lakes as lakes and live in our own cities, roads, bazaar, mall, everything? So what value to sustain? That has to be decided. So these are some things which need to be taken care when we talk about life. So when you are really looking at your lake, you can put them into this kind of simple 2x2 matrix graph. And please evaluate the lake which you had in mind in the beginning of this talk. As I said to you, please put a lake in your mind to relate what I'm saying. So you will have these situations. So a very good governance and very good lake, which is on the right hand side top, high governance and high sustainability. It is utopia, but there are these kind of lakes in the country. Then you will have rationally ideal model where you don't do anything and high sustainability, which I am actually proposing and proponent of. Please leave the lakes and let the nature do its regenerative process there. Do not do too much of intervention into it, because when we do intervention, we bring in the very development model where economy, concrete, and all these things come into picture. To do that, we have to be a little bit more less fearful about animals, about insects, embrace them as co-inhabitants of the planet and the city. Anyway, so that is rationally ideal. Best lakes you can achieve is just let them coexist with you. Do not do too much of designing and planning. If there are architects and planners, please listen to me. Then there is this, which we are in a stage. So high governance and very low sustainability. At this point, we are actually putting most of the lakes in this category in the country at this moment. Then total failure, nothing is happening. Actually, this situation does not exist because there is an intervention which is on the right side, frustrated intervention. Okay, this is how you can evaluate the lake which you have in mind. So now coming to the education, which is nearly the end of my talk, that we need to develop this knowledge, which I have tried to share with you, which is coming from various disciplines. As I said in the beginning, the knowledge is in abundance. We need to bring them together, and we can bring them in very simple manner. So value of the lake, the physical component of the lake, who are working on the lake, what kind of tools they are using, and what are the other systems which are related, where is the nala, where is the drainage, what is the water supply, we can bring them together. So sector specialists are important. So limnologist is equally important as planners. And you will be surprised and sad to know that many of the lake developments happened in the country which are designed by architects and planners. There is no hydrologist in their team, though no ecologist in their team. Now, man karke, they get landscape architects in their team. But it just happens without them, which has to change. Biologists have to be there. You have to have people from hydrology, you have to have people from ecology, from ornithology, which is birds. You have to have people from ichthyology, which are who are studying fish. So you need to bring them together and talk about multidisciplinary. So we need to basically this course also I'm designing to actually tell people that we need to work together. So through executive trainings and capacity building. So those who are knowing a little bit, please come together and really organize these kind of things to develop the knowledge of this system, to reduce the disconnect. Because what I really feel sad, because now almost every month I organize lake walks. There is so much to be done, and so much is already done. We need to just really document it. So please start documenting and disseminating whatever you know and share. But at the same time, please also have the ears to listen to other experts. So this is very important. And I, coming from architecture and planning discipline, I know that this has been a very big gap about embracing other specializations. And that's important, because unless and until we have the base data, we are not moving ahead to monitor, to evaluate, to learn, to adapt, and especially to avoid what not to do. And what not to do with development is a very, very big question mark. And I hope after this COVID thing is over, we start questioning development. Where should we put our money into? We have to really question our government servants. Okay, that look, this is my money, where should you put the money into? So this is what I was telling from the ministry. I told it in the beginning that they themselves have declared that unless and until we have a data, we cannot really move further. We need data integration. So this is also a national requirement agenda I know in some cities who have contacted me, they are trying to develop their local data. So if you are today in this webinar from different cities, you can come together, form a water group and start collating data with each other, whatever specialization you have. And we can really work with the government for it. So lake restoration projects at waterfront in this country. So if youngsters are listening here in the webinar, it's a good career option now. Unlike me, when I started 20 years ago, there was nobody looking and listening to me about water bodies. But today, water is listened. So you can have a career out of it, to be honest. But look at water harvesting and lake development beyond that. Okay, so economic gains are short, ecological gains will be long for sure. So understanding a lake is important, especially in the city where we look at it as a garden. It is more than a garden. So education on land is equally important and water and ecosystem. So lake is just not a piece of land. It has a water and ecosystem. So these are something from the government actually. So we need to have the more water awareness and awakening in this country at this moment, where all actors can come together, coordinate with each other, and bring more transdisciplinary people who work with the theorists at the same time who work with the policymakers and consultants. We actually lack this kind of specialist in the country, and after living in Europe for many years, I know what is the strength of transdisciplinary people, you know. So they are really good bridge. We have to produce transdisciplinary scholars in the country who can talk to both sides of the story. Consultants claim to be transdisciplinary, but honestly, they also need to do a little bit more than transdisciplinary to become transdisciplinary. Success is important, but failures are equally important for learning. Digital data is important now for knowledge management. So I will repeat again that managing lake is one thing, but managing the knowledge of the lake is equally important, and please do not undermine it. And if we keep on undermining that knowledge is not that important, and I give you example कि जैसे ये सब lectures दो ना तो I get calls कि मुझसे लोग कॉल पे पूछते हैं 2 मिनट में मुझे मैगी नूडल जैसा लेक का फॉर्मूला बताओ लेक बचाने का. I do receive this kind of calls कि आप मेरे को 2 मिनट में समझा सकते हैं लेक कैसे ठीक होगा. तो वी हैव टू रियली अंडरस्टैंड दैट कि यस 2 मिनट में आपको बेसिक चीजें समझा सकते हैं, बट यू रियली नीड टू be more caring and trying to understand things comprehensively and not take very quick decisions on something. We are not talking about COVID today, but it is really hurting me the way all the poor people are walking to their homes just because we did not think or we did not really take care of a comprehensive picture before really taking a linear decision. So we have to take that decision, but we have to also prepare for that decision. That's important. So these are some things which we need to take care, and I have talked about it, physical doing, policy implementation. So knowledge is there. So this is something which is for you actually. I will wait for a story from your end. Please develop a biography of a lake in your city or neighborhood. And these are some of the bullet points. And I actually used these bullet points to share with you my knowledge. These are also the bullet points which will be also used in the course outline. So physical nature, the services which the lake offers or can offer. Who are the organizations right now acting on it? What kind of mechanisms are used? What is the socio-political background? What are the other systems which are connected with the lakes? And how do you see the sustainability of the lakes? I'm really, really keen if you can tell me a story about these lakes. We can start developing story of lakes. And I hope Chinka Raje is here. If she is there, Gauri, if you are there, we can actually bring these stories from across India and start making beautiful stories about lakes. So why I'm saying these beautiful stories, that unless and until we appreciate what we have, we are not going to take care. Unless and until we identify that there is a problem and we accept that this is a problem, and then we will find out solutions for it. It's not a government's problem, it is our problem. We have to take charge of it. And that's pretty much my understanding of the water body at this moment. And this is one part of the course because the second part of the course is more about telling stories from success and from failures. And I'm pretty much learning actually, and I'm really waiting that you all bring me more examples so that I can see what kind of other challenges across the country people face or the lakes face. So please change your outlook of looking at lakes from anthropocentric and make it more ecocentric, and tell us a story. Thank you from my side, and take care, and I'm open for questions. Anita?
Yeah, thanks, Mansi. This was a wonderful session, and we all need to learn how we have to think upon it. And I will request everybody to raise their hands, because it becomes a chaos if everybody is talking together. Because, people are so enthusiastic about the reflections, or whatever you were saying. So let's see who has raised the hand.
Yeah, maybe I will add to you, Anita, that if you have any questions or suggestions, or if you want to tell something, you can even put it on the chat. I will save it. And if you want to also tell me how I can improve and share with others, please put your note. I will save that and come back to you.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody has put, and they have put in the chat box, and it is saved, because while recording it, everything is saved.
Yeah. Good to see, nearly 70 to 80 people are just in and out. I'm just seeing the numbers.
Sureshji, do you want to reflect on this?
Yes. I think Suresh is he connected?
Manoharan is saying that, can we get the presentation? Yes, definitely. We are going to upload this on the website.
Part of it, because part of it is my book thing. So I will definitely share part of it. Yes.
Yeah, it will be uploaded on the website.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, definitely. We can create a WhatsApp group, and you can send me your number on this 9953422179, and I'll help you to create the WhatsApp group.
Yeah. Anita, can I hear the people who are asking questions? Is it possible?
Yes. Yes, Mahima has to say something.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Mansi for making us aware about lakes condition and all this information which we never had actually. I just want to know, as a responsible and aware citizen, how can I help in preservation? And as an individual, what can I do? I can't blame others for everything, because before today, this thought never passed my mind. So I really want to know what I should do.
First thing first, you can first actually document what is the condition of the lake, right? First thing.
Okay.
Because to do anything, we have to first know what is it's like a doctor going and checking you. So if you claim that I am not a doctor, but still I want to really take the lake to, it's like, you becoming mother of that child, to take him to or her to the doctor. So first you have to really tell what is the lake. So can you please do the basic documentation? I have also developed some palettes. How can you check the health of the lake? What can you look at the lake? And then next thing will be to really go and find out from your nearest ward or local authority or ward officer or your MP or MLA, whoever is seated there, there is a budget for everything. So we, as good citizen and at an eye level, simplest thing we can do is ask our representative good questions. Asking question is the first step to changing things. So if you can really take few pictures, make one A4 or two A4 page that this is what I found and I walk there every day and this is what concerns me, and just put one paragraph note to the local authority and to the local leader and ask, are you planning to do something about it? That will be your first step, probably. Second step, you can actually start talking about this water body. If it is in good condition, then also. If it is in that condition, then also with your neighbors, that look, we are really faced, apart from really cribbing about the mosquitoes in the lakes. Mosquitoes are there because we dump wastewater. So why I'm trying to tell you this, the way we talk about Bollywood and cricket, can we talk about water in our houses and in the friend circles? This is a very small change as a citizen you can start with. So please do these two things. I hope we can do the third thing together then. Third step.
Yes. Thank you, Mansi ji.
I think Suresh Kumar wants to ask a question.
Yeah.
Hi, this is
Hi,
Suresh
Suresh.
Rurila from CSE. I just
Hi,
wanted to
Suresh.
congratulate you on,
Thank you. I know you very well. We don't know each other, but I know you very well.
I just got 2 minutes before you started the message, and I thought we should be connecting because
Yes.
the thing is, it echoes that whatever we stand for in principles.
Yes.
And I have a team which works on urban lakes,
Yes.
and
I know that. Yeah, I'm following
we are in
CSE.
the process of
Yes.
developing a agenda
Yes.
on this, and we would love to
Yes.
engage with you. However, I wanted to say that it is not that it was always that bad. If you look at
No.
like
Yeah.
Bhopal lake restoration and various other
Yes.
places where there was a planning approach to lake, but now it's a
Yes.
project approach. And when
Yes.
it
So
comes
that's
to
the
project
development से हो गया ना, change हो गया.
हाँ, नहीं तो हमारे खुद की फ्रेटर्निटी वाले हैं ना, हमारे प्लानर आर्किटेक्ट्स फ्रेंड्स जो
Yes.
हैं
We are
उन्होंने
to be
ही किया है,
blamed, to be
किसी
honest.
और ने नहीं किया. So why are we blaming others? Because it was there has been a
We
planned
have to
approach.
blame ourselves. Yes.
Nowadays we hear that people are restoring lakes in 45 days and sometimes in 45 hours by doing Shramdan and
Yes.
basically.
Shocking, huh? Shocking. Sursagar Lake,
So,
Baroda.
I would like to say that we need to arrive at as a community of practice on how do you define an urban lake.
Yes.
That itself is a bit complicated
It's
because
yes.
people say that if once you put a ring road around that or that canal road, then that the water body within that is a lake. Is that the definition or something how we are defining lake? And I would love to interact with you. Is that I don't know whether I missed in the beginning 5 minutes. How do you define a lake? I define the moment you add a word urban in front of lake is basically that a lake which is likely to be urbanized. It's in the we have in master plan area. In next 20
Yes.
years, it's under threat.
Yes.
So then we can make a lake management plan. Otherwise, we are talking in vague terms. We have ponds
Then
which are active storages and all those. So how do you want to react to that? What is a lake definition in urban areas?
That will be very tricky, and actually it was there in my first part of first few slides of
We
it.
cannot define.
But
We cannot.
yes, we cannot define, but every lake has a unique DNA, just like you and me, right? And that needs to be identified right from its birth.
Yeah.
So in terms of birth, in terms of its trophic state, and that date when we are documenting, so that is the definition of the lake on that date, and it needs to evolve when the planning is to be done, and it needs to evolve after 5 years when replanning is getting done. So I think it will be very tricky if we stand to a situation where we say that this is the definition of lake. As you also know that as we see in many countries, they have a clear, especially if you look at EPA document and Dutch government's document.
Lightning an excellent library talk on urban lake governance and sustainability. You rightly said that if the lakes to rejuvenate, that means let the nature do its job. It is also noteworthy that they are living beings like us. They breathe and cough like we humans. So let us leave the lakes to themselves. Thank you very much to all of you. And India Green Party would like to thank
Anita?
India Greens Party would like to thank everybody. And, the India Greens Party is the only Green Party and political party which takes care of whatever all the environmentalists are saying. So you all need to rethink about it, that you all need to be the part of this forward. Thank you very much, Mansi.
Thank you, Anita, and thanks everybody for joining us for this conversation. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, Anita, you can take a charge.